Let's go ding. We're in the dog days of summer, but guess what? Smack Talk continues. It keeps rolling on here at Slap News. We keep bringing you everything slap fight related. There's never a dull week in the world of Power Slap. This past week, we brought to you the first time that we've ever seen it. I'm sure you guys as well. But what the coin toss looks like, Ding, and I got to tell you, it was way more exciting than I thought it would be. And I think they're holding something back by not letting us see it. There was just something about so much intrigue that went around it, the professionalism, everything that they did. And I mean, I actually just kind of liked Mark Smith looking like a badass before he throws that coin. What was your take?
Yeah, he's doing the shuffling in his hand. Erica's showing you the blue side and the red side, and it's flipping. Cameras panning to it. I mean, it was exciting, man. And then, like you said, the professionalism, right? Verbalizing, this is the two, that are going to go at it in this match. Here's the corners. Here's who won. This is their corner. Like, I mean, it like you said, it's more exciting than I think any of us thought it might be. And hopefully we see a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not known if we're going to get an opportunity to see it. We're going to put it up here on the screen for you guys. We're going to roll through it. So this was a match that took place prior to Power Slap number 14. So this was Darius versus James. As you said, Mark getting into it. Super professional in the way that they do it. Erica obviously reading out the actual names for the coin toss. There's been a lot of speculation that this was something that was always, done behind closed doors before. And there was, rumors and speculation if there was tape, if it existed, and we get it right here. Nice camera work zooming in on that red coin to let us all know that Darius won that coin toss. Overall, I think the argument's always been that this has only been something that the roster wants to see. But to be honest with you, I think the entire betting community wants to see this take place, and the fans of these individual fighters that want to know whether their striker gets to strike first or second. And I really think they're building something here pretty cool. And I hope, and maybe we end up, doing a petition or something to get this public and live. And especially if they're already doing this with this type of quality, I'm sure it wouldn't take too much for them to ratchet it up even more. I mean, after seeing this thing, is there anything that you would say that's left up to question as it relates to the coin toss itself?
No, you know what, man? I think at the end of the day, the people who are going to continue to question the coin toss, there's nothing that you're going to do that's going to make them believe that it's legitimate. And it just is what it is. I saw some people commenting, this was done today. Like, look, I don't know what you guys do with your free time, but if you think Erica and Mark Smith on a Saturday have the time or the desire to go to the Apex or to the Power Slap, to the quote-unquote war room, and film something like this just to give it to us to present, then I just don't think I can reason with you. I don't think there's an answer that's sufficient for you.
Yeah.
So,
well, I didn't know. I didn't know we were gonna go down that path. But I mean, let's go through the comments and see. I mean, we got Garrett Bleasley with a little LOL. Got Brandon Kerr. This is shady as F. They really think we dumb as F. Yeah, not so sure, man. I mean, you got direct footage here of the coin toss taking place, so not really sure why that speculation would come up. I mean, you've got one piece of tape from start until finish, approximately 33 seconds long or so. Maybe it's 38 seconds. I can't quite recall. But showing you everything you need in full frame, even gives you the zoom in on the coin. So I don't know.
Now, I do have a question on the back end. I think we talked about this, but why not talk about it in front of the people here? On the back end, right? It's a file. Is the file digitally signed in some way to signify like when it was filmed? Is there anything on our end that we can see that sort of identifies when this was taken?
Like, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the EXIF data as it relates to photos. To be honest, this is a video. This is a clip of one coin toss. So this isn't the full, actual coin toss done in duration for the entire event. This is, beyond the scope of my technical savvy, to be quite honest with you. So I don't know, dude. I mean, the way that this organization has done everything, above board. You've got Mark Smith, who, is a vet in his own rights, a guy that served your country. If you're going to start questioning a guy like Mark Smith as part of the Nevada Athletic Commission and the guy with the integrity that he has, I think you got some more issues. And as you said, more time on your hands, to be quite honest with you, if you don't think that this was filmed pre-fight. Otherwise, yes, let's see. We got La Cuca here as well, talking about having this done live by Dana or Power Slap media team. This was recorded today by Isaac Gunther. Not sure what to tell you, buddy. Not sure. We also got KO Chris saying do it live. Dope little inside from AJ. Got
Mr.
the
Austin Dunning
as well. Dunning. Johnny Magna. I didn't get this one. Flip it like a pool shark. What does that mean? Do you know the lingo? Or did you grow up in a pool hall, Ding?
I did not.
You did not? And then we got the fight fan saying this is amazing. So there we go, Ding. We've got it. The fight footage of the coin toss. However, I said that wrong, but that's all right. But let's keep on. I thought it was exciting. I think it was a good piece of work that we're able to do to bring that to the public, to diffuse some of the questions. I'm sure it's not going to be done yet. I'm sure there's going to be comments in the comments section of this video continuing to question it. However, it is something that was presented from us directly. And, we brought it to you guys to give you guys that inside look. Ding. What else is going on right now in the world of slap fighting? I know we're a little bit away from the events. However, we do know Power Slap number 15 and Power Slap number 16. We've got the dates. They're both coming to you in October. Hearing any rumors, I think it's fairly safe to say that we are going to have Isaiah Quiones and Brandon Bordeaux at some point here at one of these two events. I think it's also safe to say that we are going to have the running it back of one Wolverine and Russell Rivero. I could see that very well taking place, probably more so in Nevada, in Las Vegas, than overseas in Abu Dhabi. And, with saying Abu Dhabi in the latter stage, Dumpling getting another opportunity to take on Dane Viernes. I think we see that match ran back. And, I think we get those 3 title matches on the go. The rest of the division, the categories in the division, we don't particularly know. Obviously, Robert Trujillo doesn't seem to be a logical contender to go up against Robert Trujillo at this particular time. Anthony Blackburn is an interesting one. We know that he's called out, Cole Young as somebody that he wants to go up and defend his strap against. We've been kind of pushing for the first dual weight class match, pinning Robert Trujillo versus Anthony Blackburn, but that might be a pipe dream at this particular moment. They seem to keep these athletes in their individual lanes, and they want them to continue to hold the titles as they see fit. Damien DeBell just taking care of Wes Minna. Well, we're going to see a little bit later in the show, we're going to be doing a fantasy matchmaking, and you can stay tuned to see who Ding and I believe should be the next contender to take on Damien DeBell and his heavyweight strap. Ding, I went through the next 2 events. Do I have you back live in the flesh?
I think you do.
Awesome. Just saying, I believe we see Isaiah and Brandon in October. I think we see Wolverine and Russell in October, probably in Las Vegas. And I think it's very safe to say that we will see Dumpling and Dane Viernes in Abu Dhabi. I mean, all that speculation, nothing has been reported up until this particular time, but those are some logical matches that we foresee happening. And then I teased a little bit about the fantasy matchmaking that'll become later on and what we think for Damien DeBell and who he may be up against next time he puts that heavyweight strap on the line.
Yeah, you know what? I think the heavyweight champion's in a very unique position. I think, I don't mean any offense when I say this, but if you liken it to sort of the situation that John Jones found himself in consistently throughout his career, where it was like he felt like he had proven everything, but then there was still a question. Somebody that came up and was the next best guy. And then he would compete against him, he would beat him, and then it would be the next person. I think Damien DeBell, I don't think he's there yet, but I think he's getting there. He has a lot of contenders in the division. So far, every single one of them that have come up, he's made it look easy, with the exception of Dorian Perez, which he's very hungry to fix. And so I don't know how much longer we will have competition to continue to give to Damien DeBell. If he's to be so dominant, I think maybe we see him 4 more times and then he's done, because he'll have done everything he wanted. He'll move to that next division. If he's able to get another title, then that'll be the last we see of DeBell.
Yeah, I mean, so young. You know, Damien DeBell could do this for another 5+ years. I think reign at the top of that division for a very long time. Obviously, you don't always reign at the top and go off in the sunset. So who knows when Damien DeBell will call it his day and his time. Doesn't seem to be any time, I would say, in the next 2 or 3 years. I think we still got some room to go here, and you never know. I mean, we're starting to get more separation now between the group from road to the title. We're starting to see some guys, figure things out. Obviously, Wes Minnow was the last man up. We have Pono Paul coming on very strong now, coming off a victory. And or is there Pono Paul coming off a loss, correct? I'm second guessing myself now.
No. So Pono lost to Dorian in March. Then he beat Siegman in June.
Correct. Coming back to Siegman, you're right. So Pono seemingly being the next guy to be able to ascend up, with this. So pretty exciting, man. I mean, let's talk about it. One of the things that is unique about Power Slap that is different from any other major sport in America, I mean, probably even worldwide, is there a lower barrier to entry to enter into the pro ranks of slap fighting in terms of a sport compared to any other professional sports here in North America?
Maybe like pillow fighting. I think that's probably it. I think that's part of the intrigue, right? I think that's why we love slap fighting, is because it's the everyday person. They can be, a D1, a collegiate, an Olympian, an Olympian trainee, so to speak. They can be a mixed martial artist. They can be an NFL fighter or NFL player, excuse me. They can be a bodyguard. They can be a boxer, or they can be somebody who lays pipe, or somebody who works on an oil rig, or somebody who, I'm trying to think of some other jobs, a janitor, or front desk at a gym. And they can come here, and it's mano a mano. I think Sim Bodhi said it best. It's mano a mano. Who can take the tools that they have on both the offensive and the defensive end, refine them enough, get their placement right, show their toughness up there, and who will have the better performance, and who will be standing when it's all said and done. And I think as a fan, there's also that enjoyment out of it, right? Where you learn a quick rule set and boom, you can understand this thing. You can keep up with it. Whereas if you're, a mixed martial arts seems to be the lowest hanging fruit. If you're an MMA fan, so many things you got to understand to figure out, well, what's that hold that they're doing? And why is this a bad position? Oh, they're in side control. What are the risks here? And this one's a striker and that one's a wrestler. What does that mean? And so Power Slap has none of that. They're going to hit each other. It's not that simple per se. There's still nuances to it, but it's very, very basic. And so anyone can come in at any point in time and enjoy it. You don't have to have seen Power Slap 1 through 14 or any one of them to become a fan of Power Slap 15. And I think that's the incredible thing about this sport. And from an athletic standpoint, you could come through the house. You could never have come through any kind of house like a Nate Bernard. Nate Bernard just signed a contract, got a call, and showed up. And boom, it's your first performance. People have been through the seasons and the road to the title, and people have gone through these training camps. And they've all been successful to varying degrees, right? Damien DeBell never had a house. Damien DeBell never had a training camp. Damien DeBell showed up at some point and slapped, and he did it. It was for another organization, but that was his practice. And now he came here, and he's at the apex of the sport, and he's been the guy. And I think that's what makes this so great. It's that I don't have to spend 20 years training to become an athlete in this sport. And as a fan, my next door neighbor could be the person I'm watching on the TV being really successful at this thing. And that's intriguing.
Absolutely. And I think that intriguing is just getting started, because I think one thing that hasn't been talked about with the low barrier to entry, not only time, but also money. I mean, let's be real. if you are a tough SOB, regardless of where you're from, whether you're from America, Canada, Brazil, South Africa, Poland, Russia, Kazakhstan, if you have what it takes and you have a camera and you can display it, and we're seeing even more every single day, people hitting us up, tagging us in videos of them slapping bobs. Look at Zakir and, the feats of strength that he did prior to getting into Power Slap. I do believe if that Power Slap wants the best, strikers in the world in their sport. 2, if you can get yourself just in front of a camera, broadcast it on the internet, would cost you next to nothing. That talent, you will be found. You can head over right now, powerslap.com, fill out the recruiting thing. You can put in your social handles, and then somebody at Power Slap will take a look at it. And, you talked about it as well, like mixed martial arts. Doesn't matter what background you come in, wrestling, karate, Muay Thai, judo, wrestling. It took you years to be able to perfect that craft. And then you want to come over to mixed martial arts. And now you have to learn all of the disciplines to be a well-rounded MMA fighter. With Power Slap, there's 2 elements. There's giving a slap and there's receiving a slap. And as you said, there's a lot of technique that goes into it. But, you put in, 1 to 2 hours a day over the course of a year. You put in 400 or 500 hours into this thing, and you will become, in the top 5 percentile of strikers, pending that you are that tough SOB, like I said, and you can take a strike. Because I really don't think you can train the toughness and the determination that you need on the defensive side. Yes, I think there's probably 5-10% that you can learn technique-wise and things you can do to absorb some of the blows and or kind of game within the rule set. We're seeing different athletes do that. But I think at the end of the day, you need to be able to stand up there and stand on your 2 feet and absorb whatever strike is coming at you from whoever is across the table from you. And so I think in that and all is really one thing that unites us here at Power Slap. And every time we get these new recruits, whether it's through the show, as you talked about, whether it's through the training camps that they've recently deployed this spring, or whatever the recruiting style is going forward, we either direct, plucking, high level athletes from collegiate, or if they're finding people overseas in these, impoverished countries or these amateur MMA scenes or anything like that. I think we will continue to have exciting storylines of, genuine people. And I think that's one of the biggest things, to be quite honest with you, whether it's in combat sports or not. Like, these are some of the most genuine, down to earth, accessible individuals that you will find. And, whether you're a fan of the sport or even running the league itself, you're getting these athletes that are excited to be here, wanting to put on a show and change and better their lives. So exciting, man. I mean, it's still young. I think sometimes we take for granted and, we want to see these things happen a lot sooner. But I mean, being 2 years in, Power Slap, 14 now in the bag, coming up on 15, 16. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Let's be real.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you alluded to, I mean, a lot of things have changed. The way the recruiting's happened changed. I think the right way to characterize it would be to say it's streamlined. They've taken what was this very arduous, extensive, sort of drawn out process in recruiting, getting people scheduled to go to the house, spend X amount of weeks at the house, bring coaches in, figure out how you're going to produce that show. What are the moments that are important? How do you get the matches to go? They've never had, an opportunity to compete before that. So there's still the risk that it's an early prelim type of environment where these could turn out to not be what you want. It could be a draw, could be a foul that ends up in the DQ. And I think we saw that a lot on, both season 2 and season 3. But if I remember correctly, it ended up being season 3 more than season 2. But Dana talked about it also recently in an interview. And it was, not everybody can be an NFL athlete. Not everybody is going to make it to the WWE. Not everybody is going to be, the top of their sport. And so there's people who still want this opportunity to be professional athletes because they are athletic and they are talented, but they just weren't the creme de la creme in whatever they were chasing. And Power Slap gives them the opportunity to continue and still be a professional athlete in a different sense and in a different environment in a different sport, one that's growing. It's not without its controversy, right? Like anything. But I
Mhm.
do believe that that opportunity being afforded to people is part of what we love and why we're all here.
For sure. I mean, I think it's a great segue too. You know, the UFC as a whole, I think for the most part, gives very little direction and media training to their athletes, which is why we get a vast range of personalities. We get athletes who are thrust into the spotlight and don't particularly know what to say, or even when they do, when Charlie Arnold puts that mic in front of their face afterwards, the amount of swearing we get on the mic, you know, some of the craziest things that come out of people's mouths. You know, these athletes have never been shown that on how to conduct themselves in these types of environment, but it's actually what gives us the most genuine, authentic, and real interviews that we ever have. It's not manufactured for TV. It's the raw feelings and emotions that these fighters are giving us in these interviews, in the post-fight press conferences, especially when those emotions are high. You know, there can only be, take an 8-fight, you know, live event. There can be 8 winners. We know for the most part there's going to be 8 losers. Sure, we can say there can be draws, etc. Things could happen. However, for the most part, we have winners and we have losers, around 8 of them. You know, right now, I think we're in a mature, you know, we're starting to get out of that adolescent stage. We're starting to kind of, you know, blossom a little bit more, kind of that preteen. And we're starting to see, you know, more cattiness throughout the ecosystem or the environment. And I think it's just worth talking a little bit about some of the negativity that's swirling around in the industry right now. And I think I speaking for myself, but I think you echo the same sentiment that I do, Ding, as well as Jeeves. I mean, we do this for the pure love and passion of the sport, to be able to interact, to be able to grow a community. And, you know, we want this to be a community and a platform of positivity. Obviously, that's not always how it is. We try to be as, you know, as fair across the board and as neutral as we can when we present the facts to you guys. We get on this show, we give you guys, you know, opposing positions. I think we're one of the fairest media outlets in the business. We talk through and bring different perspectives to the show overall. But as fighters, as I was going back to, the 8 fighters that win, the 8 fighters that lose, just because you lose on a given night, it doesn't mean it's the end of your career. It doesn't mean that the sun won't rise tomorrow. We see a lot of fighters, especially after the fights, for a week or 2, I mean, even in this case, 3, after New Orleans, continue to put excuses and blame on everybody but themselves, or the things that transpired or happened, etc. But at the end of the day, this is just a road bump in your journey. It's not over. The only person in a true man is somebody, and women in particular case, is you take your lumps when you get them, so that you can take all the glory when you have your successes. I think one, being accountable, owning your actions. And for the athletes who have done that, you know, we commemorate those athletes. I think it shows those athletes off in a positive light, win, lose, or draw. And there's nothing wrong with going out there, because everyone has it, where it may not just be their day, where things didn't go the way that they planned, but they do it with grace, they do it with integrity, and they continue to represent the sport in a positive light because they want to be around for years to come.
Man, that was deep. There's a couple things I want to clean up, actually, now that you kind of opened the door here. So Yodu is one of our, what I would call regular, somebody that supports us. And so I think he deserves a response to some of the things that I've seen he's written. I'm assuming gender here, so I apologize if you're a female, but I believe every indication says you're male, so I'll refer to you as he. But again, if you're not a he, I apologize. So Yodu says, that me particularly, that I was very critical of Cooper Housley's decision and the way that he voiced his displeasure with the way that his match took place with Zakir, the outcome, talking about, potential injustices and fouls that weren't called, stuff like that. And then on the flip side, the Chief was on here just last week, and I was commending him for doing the exact same thing. I want to clarify. If I sort of participated in that double standard or created that, I apologize. My intent was to illustrate that if you're going to complain about the outcome of a fight, utilize the tools that are given to you. Follow the process that they give you. That's all it was. And that's all it is. That's my position today. I'm not going to say that I didn't because I haven't gone back and looked. So I can't tell you for sure. My intention was not to say that, though. So my intent, again, just to be clear, was to say, if you have issue with the outcome of your match, there's a process that's yours to do as an athlete. You take it up with the commission. There's an appeals process. They'll look at it. It's very historically very unlikely that things will change. But if there was truly some sort of wrongdoing and the match should not have gone the way it went, then they'll turn it over to a no contest. And they can. That's their right as the Nevada State Athletic Commission or whatever commission is sanctioning the match. And they can overturn it into a no contest. It will not be into a win in the opposite favor, but it'll be a no contest. I believe if you're going to complain about the outcome of your match, whether that be, they clubbed me and it wasn't called, they flinched, they stepped, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you should follow that process. If you want to, in addition to that, go on social media and launch a tirade and talk about how illegal and unclean your opponent is, that's totally fine. If you do that without following the process, I believe that's bad practice. I think that that's in bad faith. It will not solve anything. It will just discredit the sport and it will discredit the legality of the sport. Secondarily, there was another comment that was made on the video of Austin Turpin's knockout of Vern Cathy. We sent it to our editing team, all of the knockouts that night, and they came up with some cool stuff for us. In this case, it was a pillow in front of Vern because Vern fell over very in an unusual fashion. And the comment was, "You guys really love Austin Turpin. Slow down." That's what happened. We turned it into a satirical clip, just like we would with anything. If it was Vern knocking out Turpin or Vern knocking out somebody else, it's got nothing to do with loving or not liking anybody. It's simple. It's content. It's the way that we create it. We've said this publicly before. We believe the sport is better with Austin Turpin in it. Whether or not we like him is inconsequential. Has nothing to do with any of it. So I just don't think it's fair to pin that on us and say, because you as a fan maybe don't like him, and we portray him or celebrate certain things that happen, that we love him, right? We've got tons of respect for Vern. We have a lot of great conversations with Vern. We have great respect for Vern, quite frankly. So I don't want that rhetoric to start people pretending like we care that deeply as far as who's we love and don't. It's not what we do here. We don't pick and choose and I'm going to love this person and hate that person. The fight was what it was. We capitalized on that ability to make it satirical given the weird way that he fell, and we would have done that no matter who the subject was. So please just give us a little bit of a second thought before you accuse us of doing something malicious or staged or whatever. It's not our intent. We're here to have fun. We love all the athletes equally. Of course, there's people we talk to more or less, and depending on how often they appear. And if we could feature everybody on the show every week, we would. But I would tell you would be hard-pressed to find an athlete who's requested to come on the show that has been denied. So I'll leave it at that. But to your point, negativity in the sport, we've said it before. Guys, if you don't find peace in watching this or participating in the sport or any group chats or commenting on things or consuming content from different creators, whether that's us or somebody else, protect your peace. Go do something else. Go find something that does make you happy. If you are a fan of this platform and you do support us, we appreciate you. We want you to be a part of that. And again, we've had, Fablets on the show before. Like, we try to do things that are pushing the envelope and are not necessarily what we do every week. And if you guys hate them, you let us know. And if you love them, you let us know. And we take that feedback and we talk about it. We figure out what to do next. But negativity, it's got no place here, man.
Yeah. Get that garbage out of here, my man.
Wow, that was a good one. Was that your best Yankee impression?
I guess so.
That was
Dude.
impressive, man. Your Southern one was my favorite when you did the
Dave
hey,
Buster's.
guys, this is cool. Yeah, can you do it live?
Probably not.
Just give me a
hey
guys,
Corey from
here.
Dave and Buster's.
No, Corey from Slap News.
Slap News, yeah.
Go ahead, come on.
Too funny, man. Too funny. I was actually going to say to that, I actually want to commend, and we didn't talk about this, so you're probably going to get mad at me for saying it, to be honest. But, as the business evolves as well, and athletes starting to get released from Power Slap, we're starting to see some athletes request their release from Power Slap as well. I got to say, I commend a lot of these athletes that continue on to push for other opportunities. If you believe that this is something that is meant for you and you have the wherewithal, and I'm going to say it, you know what? Brandon Kerr, Amir Nuruddin, guys that get up there and go on and push and continue, to do what they love because they're passionate about it. That's a great way to be able to do it. We're also seeing Raiden as well, posting some stuff up. I'm not sure we're supposed to talk about that or not, but he's kind of teased a little bit of potentially fighting in another organization. And, the door never closes. If you can go up there and prove yourself in other organizations, continue to rack up wins and victories, there are those opportunities where you can get a second chance in Power Slap should you wish, or go on and do it because you absolutely love it. There's more leagues, popping up all around the world, whether it's Brit Slap, SlapFIGHT Championship, SFC. There was recently one popping up in Washington State, down by Portland.
Punisher
There's a number of
Slap, right?
these. Yeah, a number of these organizations popping up, and there's going to be more and more opportunities for people to do. We even know Charles Johnson, was trying to get one together as well. And you know what? There's going to be a place for all of these organizations. It's not going to be just a clean straight line. There's obviously a lot of individuals that want to enter this sport, and there's going to be different ways to get here. Some will be feeder leagues, some will be competing, some will be in totally different markets. Kind of like the early days of wrestling. I'm not sure. I know you watched it front to back thing on Netflix, with Vince McMahon, but how, back in the old days in the 70s and 80s, how each kind of, organization controlled different states within the United States before Vince came in and kind of took over. And, we're going to see different things, but, I do want to commend the athletes, like I said, that continue on to push, and we do our absolute best to continue to follow those athletes. And I mean, even Slap Jesus got back up there after a long hiatus with SFC. And so, we commend you for continuing to push on.
Yeah, you know what? It was that was very heartfelt. It made me nauseous. So let's move on. I'm just kidding. I was just joking. Kudos and shout out to you guys. Don't let your rock bottom be rock bottom. That's it. And I think Blake Howard, Amir Nuruddin, Slap Jesus, Brandon Kerr, Raiden Bombardier. I think those are all great examples of that. Persevere. Even a guy like John Kennedy, Frank the Tank, even the guys from the early days, right? Who made the transition to another organization. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if you believe that that's what's best for your career, you should do it.
100%. 100%. I mean, this sport is such in its infancy at this particular moment, and it's going to continue to keep on growing, evolving, and pushing forward. And if you are on that roster in Power Slap, I'd say get in the gym right now. There's going to be a ton of cards coming up here in the back part of this year and into 2026. We know they want to make 2026 their biggest year yet. And, what did we say last time we talked about this thing?
66.
66 fighters.
If there's three events,
Correct.
and each event has at least three early prelim matches, we know there's the standard 8, 4 on the prelims, 4 on the main card as part of the live event. But if there's at least 3, which there's always been, pre-taped on each card, that's 66 opportunities. 66 individuals will be able to get up there. The only assumptions we're making is, like I said, that there are at least 3 pre-taped and that there's one additional event before the end of 2025 other than the 2 that we know of right now, which is October 3rd in Las Vegas, Nevada, and October 24th in Abu Dhabi. So that gives us a little over 2 months to get a third event in there. I believe we can do it, and that's 66. If we do anything more than that, more pre-taped, more events, then that number is even, that's the floor. So tons
100%.
of opportunities. So like he's saying, get in the gym, get your ass up there, make yourself known, and do not be disrespectful. This like, what is wrong with you, Power Slap? Why are you not booking me? And whatever. It's not the way to go about it. I get the frustration, but the entitlement's got to stay where it belongs, in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Be respectful. Let people know respectfully that you're interested. If you want to go and make memes about Robert Trujillo because you want to fight him, that's totally cool. But leave Erica, Frank, AJ, Aiden, any of them, just be respectful to them. Don't go online accusing them of psychologically abusing you and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. One thing we actually haven't touched on, Kale Chris making the announcement. He wants to move up to 185. Obviously, Chris has talked about, his weight cuts being a big issue for him to be able to, get down the 170. I think in a lot of accounts, it makes sense. Kale Chris was at the top of the mountain at 170. We've seen a lot of the fighters come down from 85 to 70. Haven't seen too many go up this way. Do you think it's kind of that right time, right place for Kale Chris to do this?
I think Kale Chris knows himself better than anyone. I mean, he came in last time at 178. I mean, I don't think he'll have trouble making the weight. I think he probably walks around 190, maybe even a little heavier. So I think he's a guy that could walk in, take a dump and make weight. I will say that release or that announcement got way more negative attention than I expected. Kale Chris is getting shots fired at him from every direction you can get shots fired at you after he announced that he was going to 185. God damn.
KO Chris is polarizing whether you love him or you hate him. Kind of like Austin Turpin in some ways. You got something to say about him, so. But Ding, I teased it off the top of the show. Not sure where we're going to start with it yet, but we're going to do some fantasy matchmaking, things that we want to see happen. For the most part, we're going to bring some intriguing storylines in regards to who we think potential matchups, not just title matchups. We're going a little bit deeper than that. Some athletes, I think for the most part, all of these athletes we've seen compete recently, except for one. And we're going to kind of give you, a compelling story or an argument. If you're one of the fighters watching this, we're in your corner trying to push for you to get that match booked. And, if you need some talking points from one of us knuckleheads or Mr. One Humpty Dumpty on that side, we'll, you can
tell the people, where'd you get that original joke from, sir?
It's not mine, but from a 7-year-old who was on a call here.
I did get roasted by a 7-year-old. That's not my child. That's
and
correct.
I think he sang the entire song to you multiple times.
Multiple times. Unsolicited. Very kind kid.
Awesome, man. Well, let's get into it. I'm gonna save Damien DeBell for the last. So I know I teased it before. We'll get to the last. But let's start off in the heavyweight division. We're going to start off with one, Wes Minna, and where we think Wes Minna will go next. Ding, I'm going to start with you on this one. Wes Minna, who should his next opponent be in Power Slap?
Man, if people could put bets down on this, dude, they'd all know where I'm at. 100%. I'm team grudge match. Friends turned bitter rivals. Wes Minna versus Pono Paul has to happen next. I think that the stars have aligned in a way that they've never aligned before for any match that we've ever seen in Power Slap. Pono coming off of a win of James Siegman, avenging his loss to him on the show, his knockout loss, mind you, with a knockout of his own. He avenges that loss, but I still think he has something to prove. I still think that there's a layer that he hasn't broken past. And you look at Wes Minna, goes against the champion, comes up short, but he's still right there because he's taken on, high caliber competition in the division. He was undefeated prior to taking on the champion. And so I think this is, where are you? This is going to put each guy in their bucket. You're either at the top echelon of this division or you're below. And I think that that's important to sort of iron out as we get to the top here and figure out who's next, right? When you talk about Dorian Perez, you talk about Zakir is a name that's up there. You talk about Pono Paul, obviously. Nate Bernard is always, I think, one fight away, right, from a championship opportunity. So, yeah, I'm going with Pono Paul.
You're with Pono Paul. I can't disagree with you. I mean, the storylines, I think it's fairly safe to say that this needs to be squashed, this beef, up there on stage in front of all of you, as Austin Turpin would say now. And it was kind of weird to hear it live and free on that YouTube app because we were used to him saying live and free on Rumble.
No, you
for
missed
so
it.
long.
You missed the part. You missed the part. You missed
On
the
that
part. This
motherfucking
isn't.
YouTube
This
app?
is. There you go. This is an uncensored show, my man.
All right. Who needs monetization, anyways? But yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, Pono Paul coming off the coming off the win to James. I don't know why I keep thinking that James Seekman match didn't happen, but obviously the loss to DTP, getting the victory over James Seekman, kind of squashing that road to the title 3, first matchup and moving up. And I think him and Wes making an intriguing match for both of these individuals. So I agree with you on that one, but I am going to go a little bit different. I'm not going to fully agree with you because I think there's one other man there that Wes Minna should take on, and that is none other than Mr. DTP. Mr. DTP sitting there with a record of 4-2, has sat now at the top of the division. And as you like to say, push Damien DeBell more than anybody else, going to the judge's decision in a close match. A guy that seems to have fallen out of favor right now with the brass of Power Slap. However, still a very dangerous competitor. And I do believe that this makes sense for one Wes Minna. I think a victory over someone like DTP, who has, that iron chin, a guy that's going to bring a dogfight. Before this, people, questioned the strength of, schedule or the strength of fighters that one Wes Minna has had going into the title match. But you pair him up with a guy like DTP, and if he's able to become victorious, puts him right back in that conversation once again. DTP is not a tough out. Pono Paul is not a tough out. Obviously, both these competitors have fought each other previously, with DTP being victorious on that particular night. I think you run that match, back, out of 10 times, I think you get a pretty fairly even number. I think Pono Paul and DTP very evenly matched. I think in a lot of ways in that particular moment, Pono Paul got into his head. I think it was a big jump up for him, not making any excuses. But I do think, I don't say the spotlight was too big for him in that moment, but he just wasn't able to truly be himself in that particular time for whatever reason and whatever was going on. So there we go. We've got one Wes Minna in the middle, Pono Paul, DTP. Maybe later in the week or right after the show, Ding, you got to put up a poll in the stories to allow the viewers to say who they would like to see one Wes Minna go up against next in Power Slap. Any final words?
There you go. What's next? Wes Minna versus Pono Paul, or Wes Minna versus Disturbing the Toilet Paper? You pick.
All right. Let's keep on rolling. We're going to stay in the heavyweight division. One Nate Bernard, somebody who we were supposed to see at Power Slap number 14, unfortunately fell ill approximately 12 hours before, supposed to compete against one Aaron Turner in New Orleans, an athlete that was visibly distraught throughout the entire process. Obviously, we don't know, or maybe you know more than I do, whether it was food poisoning or just a bad bug that was going around. I know you fell ill after New Orleans as well, so I'm sure you can attest that you and Nate Bernard were in the closet together. But
I think Nate would disagree. I think Nate would rather be in the closet with you, bro, to be honest. But yeah, it was shitty, man. It was not food related.
Shitty. So, for sure. So I'll start on this one. Mr. One, Nate Bernard in the heavyweight division, I believe should go up against none other than Aaron Turner. I know, Mr. Unoriginal, the match that was supposed to happen, bodyguard versus bodyguard. I took a cop-out thing. I know I was late to the meeting, and they were like, hey, we just gave you Aaron Turner. No, but let's be honest, Aaron Turner coming in last minute, taking on Ro Montagna, getting the victory, continuing that ascension. I think he's even said it. Nate Bernard's the guy that he wants to, to see next. Makes too much sense for everybody in this division right now. Aaron is a guy that, has a ton of potential, hasn't been able to fully, put it together to get those clean matches and those clean fights. Some of the speculation around Aaron is that he doesn't have the power. To put guys in the top of the division away. I think Aaron just has to continue to refine in his technique. Aaron, has had changes of opponents his last couple times up here. I think, Aaron is a guy that if he can put it together on paper, has all the intangibles. Can he transfer that to, quote unquote, the field? Can he transfer that to the stage? I think Nate Bernard is a great potential opponent for him. And obviously the Brass of Power Slap did. So I'm going to take that cop out ding.
I'm going to be a little harsher. I think Nate Bernard is in a shit or get off the pot situation. And I don't necessarily know that it's, some position that he put himself in, but I do think it's go time or no time for Nate Bernard. He's been sitting at the number 2 spot for quite a while. Obviously, the last time he competed, he lost against James Siegman. And so I think this is an opportunity, or this needs to be an opportunity. This next match needs to be Nate Bernard. You either belong here in the top echelon division or somebody else does. And in this case, I think the right person to sort of iron that out is none other in English than the Kazakhstani Zakir Namabayev. Number 5 had a little bit of a stutter step in June when he competed against Bryce Jones, was able to get a TKO, if you will, then gets disqualified because of the method of his strike. It's deemed that he's clubbing, which I don't think anybody on planet Earth disagrees with. He's told, this is all according to him. We've never confirmed that this is actually true. So I just want to be clear about that. Don't go saying Slap News said it's true. He was told by Dana White himself, stick around. We're going to turn you around in New Orleans, Power Stop 14. You'll get an opportunity to right the ship. That, at least part of that we know comes true. He sticks around. He gets a match to do the quick turnaround 3 weeks later at Power Stop 14 against none other than the always game Cooper Housley. We also know from talking to Zakir that he was assigned a trainer during that period of time at the PI or at the Apex, and he spent that 3 weeks refining his technique, changing it, and it was so new to him that he actually revealed that he doesn't put all of his power behind it, and this clip is on our page if you want to see it. He doesn't put all his power behind the new strike because the technique is actually not comfortable for him because he hasn't done it enough. So he shoots on Cooper Housley, is declared the victor via, I believe, also TKO. And now he's in a precarious position. He gets moved up to number 5. And again, there's still a lot of, again, the Bryce Jones strike looked a lot like the Trolls Nielsen strike, right? He beats Trolls, technically loses to Bryce, then beats Cooper. Now he's number 5. People are critical of that, right? Aaron Turner talked about like it doesn't really make a ton of sense. So I think this is an opportunity. Either Zakir, is as real as they've led us to believe he is, or Nate Bernard is the guy. And I think that this is the perfect matchup to figure out which of those is the case.
There we go, Mr. One Nate Bernard. Potential matchups: Aaron Turner, Zakir. Do we know, is Zakir still in America, or do we know if he went back home?
No, Zakir's at home.
For sure?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, I think it's safe to say we'll probably see Zakir. I think we could see him in Abu Dhabi. They seem to like him. I don't see why they wouldn't run him back. Again, win, lose, or draw, no contest, whatever you want to say happens. I think he'll continue to get that opportunity as they fill out more and more strikers overseas. So, saying that, actually, what did they do with one Darren Godfrey? Would you run Darren in Abu Dhabi, or do you think, the Isaiah and Brandon thing has to play itself out? I know last time when I talked about Darren, I got myself in a bit of hot water with the strikers involved. What do you think they do with one Darren?
I think Darren Godfrey is better internationally. I think Abu Dhabi or Saudi is the right place to put him. The picture in middleweight right now, I think Brandon Isaiah needs to be hashed out. I mean, they're 1-1, both by finish early on. I mean, I understand the mindset that it's kind of all we've seen for the better part of the last year. But I also feel like, again, because they're finishing each other, You want to figure out who's the better man here, and then you can move on to the rest of the division. But I think to that end, it puts the loser in a really shitty predicament. And I think we could probably do a whole episode about that, and maybe we will.
For sure. Couldn't agree more. I mean, we've done something similar to it in the past, and it kind of led to some intrigue and excitement, and I think was, good television per se. This next one, we didn't really think it through, Ding. So let's just cut to the final graphic. How about that? How about we don't even bother with the sides and all that stuff? Let's just go to the final graphic on this one. But Mr. One, Robert Trujillo, obviously been completely dominant at the 155 division. Up until this point, hasn't ran into many opponents that could take the wrath that he's been putting out. Robert has been there from day one and continues to push. Now I guess 6-0 in Power Slap. I think right now with the state of the 150 155 division, it's just not a deep division at this moment. You're really top heavy with Robert, and I think there's a distant gap to the rest of the division. Do you want to say anything about that 155 before we put this up and kind of probably hurt some feelings?
It's the kiddie pool right now. It needs some
let's
depth.
Go.
Bam! We want him to get sandwiched by Anthony Blackburn. I think most people would agree, man. This is the match that makes sense. I mean, welterweight is a bit dormant and confusing. The only match that you could even remotely conversate about is Cole Young. But the problem is, outside of their history, early on in their careers when they were young runts, Cole Young hasn't done a whole lot as of late to deserve it either. I mean, you knock off Radulavi, who I don't even know if he was at the top of the rankings at the time. He might have been either 9 or 10 or unranked. I don't know that gets you a title shot under any circumstances. So I just think that's a tough sell. No disrespect to Cole Young. I want to see that match. I'm just saying, if you're following sort of the rules and standards of the way this stuff traditionally goes, he doesn't deserve the shot. He hasn't done enough. He needs a top 5 win to show that he's ready for this. I think Manny Muniz is a great challenge for him. Joel Scott, if we're ever going to see him again, would be a great test. And in the meantime, I think Robert Trujillo is in the same predicament, right? If Joshua Bovair does not resurface, we don't know where he's at. Nobody else makes sense. Riley doesn't want the match. Dakota's lost now twice, once by decision, very one-sided, and now by knockout or TKO. Robert Trujillo's got nothing left at that division. And I think while they bred some depth, you either show people that Robert Trujillo's that guy and can be the king of 2 divisions, or you can put him in his place and tell him, stay your ass down at 155, wait for new talent, because you don't want 170. And I think Anthony Blackburn is a different animal. He just took somebody who's coming down from 85, who's competed for a title twice, who's been the number 1 guy, and he, no disrespect, but he destroyed him. He at every turn, he broke him down, and then he finished him. And it's Anthony Blackburn is in his stride, and he's special today. And Robert Trujillo is in his stride, and he's special today. This would be the biggest super fight, and I don't think any of us ever thought that would ever happen at the lower weight classes. So I think that it's the time.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, we always talk, you can't control who they put in front of you across the table. But Robert Trujillo doesn't have the strongest strength of schedule or strength of fighters in his matchup. We've got Anthony Green. We've got Jewel Scott, who is victorious at 155, a guy who did a drastic weight cut from 170 to be able to make it for Power Slap number 1. Paul Teague, Dallas Maron, Dakota McGregor, now twice. Anthony Blackburn is a massive step up in competition for one Robert Trujillo. I mean, obviously, everything that the accolades that Robert Trujillo has had 6-0. I think Anthony Blackburn is going to be its stiffest competition. I think is what we need to see. I think this is going to really cement Robert's legacy in a lot of ways. I think more than I do, but when they put these double champs in the line, and if they do a catch weight, etc., how do they sort out the belt side of things? If they were to kind of meet in the middle at a 165 or 62 and a half, what would they do? Or do you think they would make
You don't
one
meet in the middle.
vacate?
You
They
don't
don't
meet
meet in
in
the
the
middle.
middle. You don't
So
meet in
one's
the
got to
middle.
go up or down.
Whoever wants the second belt needs to go to that division. So if Blackburn wants the 55 belt, he goes down to 155. If vice versa, if Robert wants the 70 belt, he goes up to 70. That's how it works.
So where does this match happen then? At 70?
170.
You think so?
170. Robert Trujillo's competed there before. He walks around near there. I mean, after he weighs in at 55, he'll be 168 before the night is over.
Where's Trujillo competed like that?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, him versus Jules Scott was at welterweight, I believe.
No, 55.
You're sure? You're 100% sure of
100%.
that?
Yeah, Jewel was dying in the sauna to make 55.
Okay.
In that match. Yeah. It was a big cut.
Well, he walks around. I know. I can tell you that Robert Trujillo walks around there. I mean, like I said, makes 155. By the time the day is over, he's 168, 169. I mean, he's a bigger guy for that division, and he's usually cutting it down to the wire during those weight cuts. Now, I know in MMA he's competed much lighter, different days, man. That dude is big.
Say. He was like 35 at one point, man. He was him and Jackie Cataline going at it.
Yeah, he's not that small anymore. I mean, he's still very short, but he's walking around with a lot more weight.
Robert's debut was at 128. Oh, how cute is that?
Jeez. Just really knocking the
guy. There we go, man. Robert Trujillo, Anthony Blackburn. The only match that makes sense, I think, in this particular moment. One that we'd love to see. And I think with those weight classes being, as close as they are too, I think there's a lot of intrigue there. And just where we are at the state in Power Slap right now. All right, then we got one more fantasy match that we're going to do right after a quick little shout out. We're going to give a shout out to Head Rush for everything that they do for the sport, for Power Slap, and for us here at Slap News. If you're looking for one of these striker shirts that you see right now up on screen, head over to Head Rush's website. The link will be down below in the description of this video. Support them. They support us. They allow us to do everything that we do here at Slap News and continue to bring you guys top level coverage. All right, Ding. Coming down the final stretch. We're in the 9th inning. We've got one more. The champion, the one and only Damian the Bell DeBill. Where does he go next in his title defense?
You guys already know. Again, I'm sticking to the script here. Disturbing the toilet paper. He's got to figure out and get his back for the fucking butter, man. He's got to do it. He has to avenge the butter. For those of you who don't know, at their face-offs, for whatever reason, Dorian smeared butter on Damien and on his, I don't know if it was on his face or his shirt or both. I think it was on his face. I think he put it on his face. So it was on a napkin. He sticks it to his face. It falls and touches his shirt. Power Slap CEO Frank Lamasella was not happy. And Damien was on our show last week and said he thinks that's why Dorian hasn't gotten the shot. But he wants his opportunity to correct what he believes was wrong that night and show everybody that he is better than Dorian Perez, because it was too close for comfort for a guy named Damien DeBell. He doesn't behave that way. He doesn't perform that way. And as far as his standards are concerned, he did not perform to the level and to the ability that he believes that he should have. And so he wants to run that back so that he can. And I think that the Power Slap Brass should have Bryce, because Dorian Perez is the apex of the sport in the heavyweight division, right below the champion. He's number one. His only losses have ever been to himself. He's never been finished. He's never been, bested in a very sort of what's the word I'm looking for? He's never been bested in a very apparent fashion. Nobody's ever put an exclamation point on performance against Dorian Perez. He's made mistakes. He's fouled. He's missed the mark. He's whatever. When he's on, he's on. And I think that night, Damien DeBell realized this guy's a lot more serious than I thought. And again, the horrors of his past, if you will, came back to haunt him. 2 fouls in a 5-round fight is not a DQ. That third foul would have been. And so if you look at the scorecards, Damien DeBell also fouled, and that's not like him. He's only got 2 fouls, and this was the second one. And so you look at Dorian Perez, he fouled twice. They ended, I think, at 48-47. Take away one of those fouls, it's 47-47. Or excuse me, 48-48. Take away 2 of those fouls, it's now 47-48 the other way. So, I mean, again, he beats himself. And I think for once and for all, we've got to figure out who's better.
Mm-hmm. You know, obviously being, the victor of Pono Paul, kind of avenging his loss, I tend to agree that it does make sense, in a lot of ways for the organization. I know you're very hard fed for it. And, it definitely makes logical sense. I think it's definitely up there on the dartboard of one of these matches that definitely could take place. I'm going to go a bit.
You're going to say some crazy shit. You're going to say some, I can see it. I can see it in your face. You are going to say some crazy shit. So be prepared.
Chat, as soon as it happens, there's going to be some, I think there's going to be some crickets. Let's just say the least. There's going to be some crickets as soon as I come up with it. But,
that would be some crazy shit. That would qualify some crazy shit. Let's hear it. You're the attorney now.
I believe Zakir is going to be the next person to challenge Damien DeBell for the belt. I don't think it's a direct path after beating Cooper Housley. I think there's one more match and a tune-up victory between those two. I think we see a prolonged time off for Damien DeBell. I think we see Zakir back, probably in Abu Dhabi, not so much here in Las Vegas. And I believe that Zakir is going to get somebody in the top of the division. It could be even one DTP. And I believe that this guy has the making. He has all the physical abilities. We haven't seen him rock. If he can continue to refine the strike, we know he has the power. He needs to work on the technique. He needs to keep it within the rule set. I know you're going to say the body of work that he had hasn't been impressive. But when you look at a guy with those types of physical traits, if he can put it all together, I believe that can propel him to a title shot. I'm not going to go as far to say that he's going to win the title, but I think he can get there because Damien DeBell is a very special human being. However, I do think that Zakir has all those intangible traits. He's just built different. He's very top heavy. He's thick. He has the strength. We've seen what he did with Cooper Housley, and with really 3 weeks and not being able to put all of his strength into it. And to be honest, I believe you, man. Like, we've seen him hitting the bob, going into it, and it didn't look pretty. It didn't look pretty at all with what he was doing. And if he can continue to refine that strike, I think we still see multiple levels to Zakir's game, and we see him one day challenge Damien DeBell.
Yeah, for all the shit I give you, I do think if Zakir can put away this guy, Mr. Disturbing the Toilet Paper, or a Pono Paul, a Nate Bernard, I think that it makes sense. But there's a lot of opportunity for the other guys to do something beforehand, turn that shot themselves. And let's just be honest, man. I mean, Damien DeBell brings excitement because he brings finishes. And so the idea that he'd be shelved, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that one. But if it is the case, like you said, he stays on the sideline. So there's 2 parts here. He stays on the sidelines, and Zakir is able to get a top 5 opponent and make them look like they don't belong. Your situation can play out. Otherwise, you're higher than giraffe vagina.
I mean, dude, go back and look at it. We've seen him at Power Slap 14. Previous to that, we've seen Damien Power Slap 10. So we had some matches in between. For that, number 7, Nate Bernard. I don't know what event that was. 6.
Well, we usually don't see belts back to back, right? So let's just play this out. And we didn't talk about this, so I'm going off the cuff here, as I like to. So what belts did we not see action in June or July? Middleweight, light heavyweight.
But middleweight was scheduled to happen.
Yeah, but then it didn't.
What do
So
you mean
now
light heavyweight?
middleweight.
We had Ron
if
Beta.
I had to guess,
we had Ron Beta and Russell.
Oh, that was at 14. That was at 13. So wait a second. So it was just middleweight. So here would be my guess. So middleweight we see at 15 or 16, 100%. Secondarily, heavyweight, I'm going to say is a no-go because it happened at 14. So it's definitely not going to happen at 15 or 16. Light heavyweight, I do think is a possibility. Super heavyweight, I think is a possibility, especially because of Abu Dhabi. So I think between 15 and 16, we'll see middleweight, light heavyweight, light heavyweight, super heavyweight, and the introduction of the women's flyweight. Those are the 4 titles I'm calling between 15 and 16.
I feel like you're building my case. I feel like that means we don't see Damien DeBell until 17.
Yeah, but
the future 18.
No. No shot. No shot it goes that way.
Okay. I don't know. Tell us in the chat what you think.
Because you do Pono versus West. You have to. Like, you just have to. So you do Pono versus West. So you would do Zakir versus who? Nate?
DTP.
Or DTP?
Yeah.
DTP hasn't been in a while. But why not do Nate versus DTP? Why does Zakir get a shot? Again, shit or get off the pot.
Because I think
either Nate belongs or DTP belongs.
Why did Zakir get to compete 3 weeks apart from each other?
Dana White privilege.
There you go.
Same thing we got, buddy.
There you go. Too funny, my man. Awesome, Ding. I appreciate you, man. It's been a great show. Everyone who stuck around. We'll be back same place, same time next week. Getting 1 week closer. We're in the dog days of summer. Take care, my man. Be good.